Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Blue Sunday. My name is Joe Lutzer, coming to you from Bangkok, Thailand, and joining me in Melbourne, Australia, is former president of the Carltonians, life member of the Carlton Football Club, Mr. Vince Lochisano. How are you today, Vince?
G'day, Joe. How are you going, mate?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
That's the way. Yeah, pretty good. Lovely, beautiful, sunny autumn day today.
Don't talk to me. It's 39 degrees here, and I just looked at the thing and it says it feels like 48.
it's a wonder you're not pouring with sweat right at the moment.
I'm inside. I've got two air cons. I went for a dip in my pool. It was like having a hot bath.
Well, just before I forget, I'd love to give a big shout out to someone who's having her birthday today, celebrating her birthday with her son Jackson, and I speak of the beautiful Danielle Lane, who I'm not sure if you're a harness racing person, but anyone who's aware of harness racing would remember the late, great, legendary harness racing driver and trainer Gavin Lang, and Danny's his daughter. And I've remained in touch with her despite the very sad loss of Gavin about 4 years ago, just over 4 years ago, on Anzac Day Eve in 2020, when COVID just basically started here in Australia. So, big shout out to her and to Jackson.
Happy birthday. And for
birthday,
all our
Danny's
viewers
still looking as young and beautiful as ever.
And for all our viewers in Mexico, happy Cinco de Mayo.
What's that mean?
Well, I don't know, because here in Thailand they celebrate anything. And apparently on the 5th of May in 1823, the Mexicans defeated the French. And so now they celebrate the 5th of May. They call it Cinco de Mayo, and there's big parties happening all over the place in Bangkok. So we get every festival. They know how to celebrate. So anyway.
Joe, before we move on from the Cheerios, I should also give a very big birthday cheerio today to someone who turned 40 and would have celebrated it because he's at the moment an assistant coach at the Hawthorn Football Club, and we sponsored him for about would have to have been something like I reckon 14 or 15 years at the Carltonians, something that we decided to do when he was just a very young player. And I speak of Cade Simpson, of course, Simo, who played 342 games for the club, turned 40 years of age today. So congratulations to him, and no doubt he'd be celebrating after Hawthorn's big upset win over the Bulldogs, which just finished, only maybe half an hour ago.
Didn't know he was at the Hawks.
Yes, he's an assistant coach. I think it's his second year there as an assistant. So anyway, before that, he was an assistant coach of the Carlton women's team. So Simo's moved on to get outside the walls of Icon Park and get a bit of experience elsewhere. So good on him.
Hopefully he'll be back. Anyway, let's get on with the show. As people know, we are a Facebook, YouTube show, so we rely on your support. So remember, at Facebook, we're at Blue Sunday and at the Jumper Punch. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we are at the Jumper Punch. So please like, share, and subscribe. It doesn't only help us, but it helps you, and it helps us bring you a better product. So that's that. Also, the show is proudly sponsored by my company, Retired Working for You Tours. It's where I was last week, so that's why I couldn't do the show.
That's a lovely emblem there in the middle. I haven't seen that one before. What's that all about, Joe? Lux something or other.
We won what I was going to do my joke. What's Carlton and St Kilda? What has my company and St Kilda got in common? We've both got one trophy. Our company recently won an award. We won the Best Small Package Tour award from Lux Travel out of the United Kingdom. So we were quite happy about that. So that's why I've put that there. And you'll see the most famous places. You'll see the tuk-tuks, Doi Sutep, where there's a church up on the mountain. And over there on the right, that is James Bond Island. So which is, it's a bit of a bit of a tourist attraction and not really much to see.
Why do they call it James Bond Island, Joe?
Because that's where the Ursula Andress came out of the water at the beginning of Doctor No, and that rock was in the background. So a hot-looking chick in a bikini gave them big tourism. That doesn't matter. Last but not least, don't forget, we encourage comments. You don't have to agree with us. You can ask questions. I'll get to as many as we can, and we'll keep going. Oh, sorry, I'm watching the football. I thought something. Yeah, so don't forget. Let's just see what happened. Looked like there was a bit of a Barney. Don't forget, we encourage your comments and questions. Okay,
and we'll
Vince.
pay attention. And we'll pay attention when you.
Yeah, no, I was just looking. I don't know if people are watching it, but Gold Coast are in these bright blue jumpers. I thought I had the wrong football match on for a minute. Then I'm like,
that's one of their away strips. That's one of their main away strips.
Vince.
When they play Brisbane or the Sydney Swans, you'll find that they wear the blue, predominantly blue-coloured away strip. So that's the reason for that. It's all to do with television and making sure you can distinguish players from each side. By the way, a big thank you to Paul Sebastiani for stepping in last week.
Yeah, for last week.
Really good
job.
And it's great to have you back, Joe. Don't worry about that.
I was sacked. Anyway, Vince, we have someone special in the background. We have our special commentator, none other than 1987 Premiership player and Norm Smith medalist, Mr. David Rhys-Jones. Good evening, David. How are you tonight?
Yeah, not too bad, actually, considering I didn't get to the footy on Friday night. You're talking about COVID before, Vince. I've got it at the moment, but
no, I thought it was going to be your first.
I had a bit of a sniffle and
game of the year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
wasn't it supposed to be your first game of the year? You just done your knees and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I didn't get there because of this bloody little sniffle I've got. That's about all I've got really at the moment. But anyway, it is what it is. But you're doing the birthday Cheerios. I got a couple too. Dougie Hawkins and the Big Dipper. Yes. Their birthdays are both on today too. So I don't think they'll be watching this, but in the Cheerio anyway. And congratulations, Joe, for winning a Best Small Package Award.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dave.
Having a small package and win an award, but
apparently size doesn't matter. You know that? That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bragging about it too much, saying I've just won an award for Best Small Package.
We got £5,000, so I can go get a bigger package now. Anyway, hey, before we go with the show, I just wanted to show. I was going to show this last week. Just to show that David was not the dirtiest player. Look at Toby Green. He's got a 100% success rate. And even our own Mitch Robinson is better than you, David. He's got 20 for 20 as well. So, and then that. But, Vince, do you know that Carlton share the record for the most suspensions in one sitting?
Is that right?
Look at that. In the year 1910, two of our players, Alex Lang and Doug Fraser, got 99 games for bribery. Only surpassed by Stephen Dank, who got charged with 34 doping charges.
Oh, goodness me.
Whoops. Well, he wasn't a player, though.
No, but it had officials. But anyway, I'll put it up there. So, Vince, let's go through the game. Here's the scores.
Yep.
Go for Vince.
And here we have it. And, of course, Friday night, it was a huge blockbuster. I think it set a record for what was it? 80. It was. I think it was something like 80-something thousand, 88,000. Was it?
Close to that.
Yeah. I'm not
so
sure.
Highest crowd ever.
Highest? No, it wasn't. It wasn't Carlton's highest crowd ever for a home and away game because.
No, but
it was the highest between Carlton and Collingwood in a home and away.
Home and away,
yes.
Yeah.
That's right, because Carlton had over 90,000 at a Carlton Essendon match back in 2000. I remember that. So, yeah, it was, a huge crowd, very well attended. Good on everyone who happened to go and support the boys. But just falling short there in the end. 12 goals, 13, 85 Collingwood to Carlton's 12, 7, 79. You can see there that we got off to a very good start, 5 goals 4 to 3 goals 2. And then, of course, we kicked the first goal of the second quarter, and we got ahead to a pretty handy lead there, 6 goals to 3 at one stage, and it looked like we had control of the game. But then Collingwood all of a sudden kicked 5 unanswered goals to go in at half-time in front by 11 points, 8-4, 52 to 6-5, 41. Then it was a strange sort of a third quarter. It almost felt like Collingwood had much more of the ball, but they just couldn't score a goal. They ended up scoring 4 points in that quarter, and Carlton made the most of its opportunities to go ahead again. 9 goals, 7, of course, 61 to 8-8, 56, holding a 5-point lead at three-quarter time. And then it was really a case of, who wanted it most in the last quarter. And in the end, Collingwood scored 4 goals, 5-29 to Carlton's 3 goals straight for that last quarter. And, Collingwood, I guess, got that goal to Nick Dacos with, just over a minute to go on the clock. So we'll pull apart the game shortly, but it was right in the balance with only a minute and 10 seconds to go before Nick Dacos got that loose ball in the forward line and scored that goal on the run. So
Anyway.
Disappointing to lose, but in the end, I think you can see there that we got close, but not close enough. And when you look at the stats, I actually think in a lot of ways Collingwood probably should have won by more, even though on the surface of it, it looks like we had more of the ball. There was a lot of junk-type possessions that really were very ineffective. Just quickly going through the goal kickers, Harry Mackay kicked 4 goals, 1. Owies kicked 3 goals. Tom De Koning kicked 2 goals, 1. Charlie Curnow kicked 2 goals straight. And Matthew Cottrell was the only single goal kicker for Carlton. And Collingwood only had one multiple goal kicker, and that was Nick Dacos with 2. Otherwise, they had single goal kickers for the rest of them. So they really did share it around. Joe?
Well, David, pull the game apart. Give us your views.
Yeah, look, we started well in the first quarter. We were playing our brand of football, and we looked good. We looked like a premiership team, I suppose you'd say. In that first quarter, we were dominating and able to get the ball into our forward line and get score on the board and looking good. Collingwood, to their credit, made some moves, which you've got to do when you're getting beaten like that. If that game had continued on, we would have probably won by 5 or 6 goals easily, and wouldn't have been a problem. But you just see a comment there, Collingwood a bit more desperate than we were, and they certainly were. And if you look at those stats again, the tackling stats, our tackling was very, very poor. You have a look at that, 54 to 88.
I was going to go through those.
They won the game. Yeah. That's tackles inside 50. They were walking through us, and probably the end of the match was a bit closer than what the actual game that I was looking at. But they pushed their players up. They realised that we're getting ascendancy around the contest, so and getting the ball out of being able to clear it out, and so they moved their half forwards up high. They congested the situation around the ground, so it made it hard for our players to be able to get it out. And they tackled us well, and we didn't tackle well back. There are a few strange moves, the 4 ins didn't really do too much. Cunningham, Fantasia at times. I think he might have photos of pictures of Vossi somewhere in his phone or something, because how he keeps getting in without having a run in the twos, from such a long time off, I just makes you wonder, sort of thing. And why doesn't Jackson Binns get that role and get an opportunity? Or, he sort of got thrown in there. Carroll was, playing that role, and all of a sudden, Fantasia's back, and he's straight in the team. So anyway, that's one we'll see what happens this week with, because I think we're going to get a few back this week. So Kemp was another one going out, which surprised me, because we really lacked that run and dare, and he shows a little bit in the back line and takes it on at times. I mean, he'll make a mistake here or there, but at least he takes it on at times. Yep. And I think with Sard, with Sard out, I think it really, we don't get that run out of the back line. So I was surprised that he went out. Chincotta come in. There are a few head scratches there. Cunningham coming straight back in. I can't remember who the fourth one was who come in, but
I'm surprised Kennedy was the substitute too.
That was baffling as well, because I thought he'd been in pretty good form, and they'd been utilising him in different roles. You know, I mean, they had to put him back to play on a half-back flank at times. They pushed him forward, pushed him through the midfield. So, and he'd been in pretty good form, and why Fantasia wasn't in that role, if he is going to play. Would have been perfect for him to come on when the speed drops out of the game, and he might have been able to get a kick then. But he struggled all night, sort of thing. So
Chera was the other one
to kick a goal. Sorry,
Chera was the other one that came.
Chera was okay. Look, he was okay, but he wasn't a presence, and I think if you go back through the tapes, there are a few missed tackles he laid too, which allowed them to get through at times. So he was just half a step off, but he'll be better for the run. And then we talk about bringing 3 more in this week who haven't played for a while. McGovern will be okay because he's been there, but Marchbank and Jack Martin being the other one. Jack Martin I would bring in. Ollie Hollins, I'd like to see him back in there as well. So there could be quite a few changes again this week, and be interesting to see who hangs onto their spots and whether form is going to play a part of it for a change.
Interesting that Ollie Hollins. Sorry, I was just going to say Ollie Hollins didn't even play VFL.
No, he didn't play. So there might have been something else there, but it's surprising. I would have managed him and given him a week off. Just managed him, is what they call it now, and just give him that 1 week off anyway, because he looked like he was he just needed a spell anyway. But I like the way he goes about it, and I'd rather have him in the team than out of it.
David, you would have been happy with Mark Pitnet, especially in that first quarter. He dominated, and we sort of lost the ascendancy when he went off with the smack in the nose.
Yeah, he's been good for us, Pitto, since he's come into the team, and I was calling for it early in the year. Waiting for him to come back in, and I think it really will work when we can get some better, classier forwards down amongst our bigger guys. We're just the small forwards are just not there yet. They're just always is doing his job. He kicked 3? Did he? 3 was it?
Kicked 3. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's doing his role. Durden, as I said in Fantasia, just weren't amongst it, that's really got to be the key. And if you're not doing that, if you're not kicking goals, and that's where we really miss Fogarty, because he mightn't be kicking goals, but he's down there putting the pressure on and keeping the ball in and tackling down there, and he's pressure rating down there's elite in the forward line. So, and Owen's probably the other small one who deserves to be in there. But you put Jack Martin into the team, and he's, you're putting some quality back in. I think Vossi even mentioned that, their processes and the way you go about the game is okay, but when you put quality people back in, we start getting Sard back into our back line. Our back line's, stiffens up a bit and gives us a bit more run and go, and we just got to look at it and to people out there, I look at the injury lists of the opposition, and sure, they had De Goey out and they had Mitchell out. I wouldn't have minded Mitchell playing because hasn't got the leg speed sort of thing to really worry us too much. But De Goey was a big out for them, but we've had some big outs too. So our chance was there, and they put it this way, without Nick Dacos, out there, and he stood up as, the A grader who really stood up in the game and ended up winning the game for him. So, watching the Hawthorn Bulldogs game before, they had Bontempelli sitting on the bench for 7 minutes or something, which would have cost them, and the play was over the other side of the ground. So, you need your A graders out there when it's time to go. And unfortunately, Cripper had a bit. I thought that Pendlebury did a bloody good job on Cripper and was able to really nullify him from that after that quarter time to and be effective himself. Pendlebury was so that hurt us a bit, and we didn't have anyone else in there. Walsh got a fair bit of the ball, but didn't do too much with it. Wasn't damaging with it. And once again, our ball movement into our forward line was just horrendous at times. It's just if there's not a player on his own, they just, it's just a dumping kick, and Charlie's got his hand up with 3 blokes around him, and they kick it to him. So, he's good, Charlie, but he's not going to beat 3 blokes, so don't kick it to him. And there's got to be 2 of our blokes spare somewhere. And when the ball does hit the deck, where are our smalls? Where are our smalls? And you say it every week, but, even when we win games, we sort of look and go, well, geez, if Eddie Betts was there or Charlie Cameron or someone going through, gee, they'd be having a picnic out there. But our smalls just aren't there.
I'll give you a few names that would be dining out on the sort of crumbs that come off Charlie and Harry, and they're guys like Alex Marcoux and Vinny Catoggio and Rod Ashman and Jimmy Buckley and Ken Sheldon. These guys used to hit the pack at speed, and they would crumb anything that came their way, and they'd be bursting in towards open goals time after time after time. And our small forwards just do not seem to have the art or the craft, if you like, of playing that position in the way it's meant to be played. And that's where the small forwards that are really effective in our competition today are guys like Keziah Pickett for Melbourne and Charlie Cameron for Brisbane, and these types that just know how to crumb off the big boys.
And Bobby Hill was another,
and Bobby Hill, there's another one from
and
so,
and even look at my era, Fraser Murphy and Adrian Gleeson, they used
Bernie
to
Evans
and not break stride and just hit the packs, take the ball and they're in the goal. So I don't know whether they don't practice it anymore or what the situation is, but our players don't even get there. The ball comes down to the front. If our blokes don't make it, the ball comes down to the front, and you're looking and there's no one there. I mean, that's where you have to be, front and square. That's I don't know. They talk about different ways.
Even though he's to some extent,
well, you can teach it. You can learn it, and you can work on it. I mean, it's not a natural thing. I mean, marking and kicking and those things are stuff we do naturally, but that running and hitting the front of the pack, that is something you can work at. That's something, and just putting yourself in that position that many times. We should be there every time. Allows you to be better at it. So,
I was just going to say, Owies is not really a typical small forward in that respect. That crumbs off the pack. He's more of a leading type of small forward that often takes marks and goes back and kicks the set shot. And he did that again on Friday night. But those crumbing forwards is what we're basically craving. I mean, I think hopefully Motlop is the one that will fill that sort of position.
But he hasn't shown that as much yet either. Crumbing type, that front and square crumbing type of. He hasn't shown that either up till now. So I mean, we got blokes down there, whether it's Orazio or Durden, Owies, Motlop. Small forwards who don't hit the front of the pack and they've got that pace too. I mean, you've got to have a bit of pace in there to be able to break the lines. So,
do we look slow, David, or is that just because we don't have the ball? Because teams seem to move the ball
that's
quick
part of it.
us.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're the quickest team. Our midfielders haven't got a huge amount of leg speed. Look, we got some quick players. When you put Sard and Williams and those guys, they got genuine leg speed. But yeah, when you haven't got the ball and you're chasing, you do look slow. So and people and see, we're playing a different style. We're playing a what you call a premiership style of football, where you're going to take some risks and you're going to get caught on the way out at times, and you got to play that, because that's the way you're going to win a premiership in the way footy's played at the moment. And until that changes and someone comes up with a way to beat it, you've got to play that style of footy, which is going to suit us anyway, because we've got to, we've got the big forwards, so we need to be able to get the ball in quicker and just take some risks. You've got to take some risks at times, and we were very slow moving the ball, and I think that was much the case as leg speed. It's a matter of players willing to run past and then willing to give it to them. So you're linking up and you're breaking lines, and that's what we need to be doing a bit more of.
David, GC has asked, is Voss moving things around enough when needed? What do you think?
Well, at times you think, have we got plan B? Because, Collingwood did. They saw a need to push their half forwards basically up the ground and play with a four-man forward line and to congest the play around the middle. And that was going to negate us. So we didn't have a plan to get out of that. So I don't know. That's what they did after quarter time. They moved their two of their forwards up and congested the play, and it didn't suit us. It didn't suit us, and we suffered because of it. But look, they only beat us by a goal too, so it wasn't as if we got flogged or anything. It could have gone either way. Could have been it looked like being a draw for a while there, but it's disappointing that we didn't get the 4 points. But
exactly,
sorry,
David.
Go on. I was going to say we're going to get better though. We're going to have better players and more quality out in the ground when we get a few back.
Vince?
Yeah, look. I think Collingwood did their homework very well on our team. You didn't see the same bursting effect from Sam Walsh. You didn't see Cripps really dominate in any major way either. And I think the placement of Pendlebury on him and I'm trying to think of who played on Walsh, but they were very effective in keeping them away from the ball at the contest and allowed guys like Nick Dacos to then swoop onto the ball and kick it forward into their forward line quite a lot. And I think to some extent we didn't have any answer to that. I don't know. I think that's a good question that one of our viewers was just asking. Did Voss move things around enough? I tend to think he goes in with a particular game plan and he doesn't really vary from it at all, whether it's working or not. And I guess it's hard to see whether you're going to win or lose such a tight game. But clearly our midfield was being outpointed and nothing changed throughout the rest of the game once that happened. Actually, Joe, I was going to ask you to put
that was caused
up.
by the congestion. It was caused by the congestion that they forced onto us, that's what, really sort of, didn't allow Walsh to get space and be able to break free and it was a congested type of game. So
why couldn't you say throw up Charlie Curnow and send him up the ground and into the middle and break through a couple of packs and do something different just to break it up a bit and to give our midfielders a bit of a chop out too. I would have tried something like that.
Yep.
Joe,
Charlie
let's put up
Harry
those stats. Let's put up those stats and just see if we can identify some of the main areas that distinguish the two teams, because they were actually quite interesting. In fact, Voss mentioned in his press conference that even though we got more of the ball,
the tackling one's the one that sticks out to me. That's
he wasn't that wrapped in just because we got a bit more of the ball. You see there, 365 disposals to 323. We had more kicks and more hand passes, more contested possessions, more uncontested possessions. But and even more marks,
And you
including
have a look
12
at the
contested marks to
64
6.
entries inside 50 for them. That's a
Yes.
huge advantage for them,
That's
which
what it
shows
is.
that their forward line is not that potent. And
No, exactly.
I think you know, most teams would understand that you know, and I think I thought some of our blokes in the back line did really, really well, and Wiedering in particular was, you know, a great leader back there again, and he week in, week out, you just got to tip your hat to him because he doesn't get beaten in one-on-one contests, and I think it was Matthew Richardson saying it throughout the course of the commentary that you know, and you've got to marvel at how he does it week in, week out, but the amount of ball that got in there, you have a look at that, the difference there, and what's that? That's 26 more times in there, and they only won by 6 points. So, you know,
exactly. So they weren't.
It gives
they
a lot
weren't
of credit
all
to our
that
back
efficient.
line there.
Yeah, they weren't all that efficient. They had so much more of the ball inside 50, and they out-tackled us, like, I mean, what is it, 88 to 54, including 22 tackles inside 50 to 9. I mean, they completely out-pressured us. But what worries me, David, is we had so much more of the ball, and yet they're the team that got so many more inside 50 entries. So what does that say about the way we use the ball?
We chip around. I don't know if you saw Michael
After quarter time, we were slow. And players now don't like making mistakes. So therefore,
they play safe.
Yeah, they do, and they'll look at that chip kick and you know, the clangers. I don't know. They
were pretty similar. They were very, very similar to the clangers.
Yeah. So
but
I'm just saying players don't like giving away a clanger or whatever, and I wouldn't agree with that yet, Rocco. It's a long season, and I think we got some pretty good players to come back into that team, so that's going to make us a lot better. And you know, I think Vossi's doing a terrific job. I just think at times, you might have to make a move, and you know, I watched Hawthorn today, and they sent their skipper down forward and ended up winning the game for him, basically. So, Sicily. So, so you know, he was a bit underdone, but he went down forward on one leg, sort of thing, and was able to get the job done for him. So, you got to flick things around a bit, you know. I mean, and I wouldn't mind seeing. I think you got to challenge your players at times too, and I think it's about time that Charlie Curnow got challenged by Michael Voss, and that could be to throw him on the ball for 5-10 minutes during a game, get him involved and get him touching the ball, tackling, doing the little things, and getting some body on body and just being part of it, if you know what I mean. I mean, at times you know with you you got to throw the challenge out to him, and you know, he is a very, very good player. He's an A grader of the competition, but he's not playing like it at the moment.
I saw some signs on. Sorry, Joe. Just quickly on Charlie Curnow, I saw some disturbing signs with Charlie. At times, his body language, it just didn't look right. It didn't look good. It didn't look like he was engaged. At times, he just sort of lumbered around there and let Darcy Moore, you know, get a hold of him. And I just thought he's not showing that positive energy at times, and I think he's got to get that out of his game quick, smart.
I think Charlie's a pretty laconic type of character, and I wouldn't worry too much about body language. That I just think it's a matter of getting him a bit more motivated and
involved.
And if you're sitting down there in the forward line, and you got 2 or 3 players around you, it can get frustrating at times too. So, you know, throw him in the middle, do something, put him on a wing or something for a while, and just let him run and get the ball. And, you know, we've seen Jeremy Cameron, you know, be able to do that for Geelong over the time. I don't think he needs to get right up into the back line like Cameron does or anything, but I just think the more you're touching the ball and getting a feel for it, the more confident you are, and you go forward and all of a sudden you can snag a few and things start on a roll.
Just a quick one too, Reese, about Charlie's kicking. You know, those around the corner kicks that he tends to do. Do you think he's maybe overdoing those a little bit? At times they don't quite come off the boot the right way, and they can become quite, low. What did Rex Hunt used to call them? Worm burners.
Worm burners.
finger breaking worm burners that scrub along the ground. And I just don't know that he's choosing the right type of kick every time. That's all.
The one he swung around and hit Harry Mackay with, I'd like to see him up on a wing doing that. On quite a few occasions. So that's what he can do when he does get up the ground, and he'll swing and turn and make good decisions. I don't think he should be doing it all the time. I think he does it a bit too much when he's outside 50. But at times when he can do that, and he knows that Harry's back there, it's going to be a weapon for us. So I wouldn't discourage him doing that.
I just wanted to alert you to a few of our players. Sam Walsh ran a disposal efficiency of 60%. Now, he got 33 disposals, but 60% effectively means he only had 20 effective ones. Patrick Cripps had 22 disposals and only had 54% efficiency. So that's only 12 effective disposals. So sometimes you can't just look at how many possessions they've had. You've got to look at whether they're effective or not. Even Akers, I think, who I thought was one of our best players, 65%. So, 2/3 of disposals being effective, I reckon that's about the minimum you'd need it to be 65. You'd really want to be in the 70s, if not, mid-70s to 80.
A lot of that was caused by the congestion around. They didn't have room to move. I mean, Walsh in particular, as you know, he likes to break and get out and use his speed. But they pushed a lot of players in and that's good coaching. That is good coaching.
Absolutely.
I mean, I saw something before that McRae a better coach than Voss. I'd say he might have outcoached Voss this time, but that could have been the case. It could be something you could say. Well, look, we did get outcoached, but hopefully they put their thinking caps on and work out ways around. And at times it can be just a ruckman. You tell your ruckman, rightio, just thump the ball. Thump at 20 metres. We know what we're doing now. Thump at 20 metres. We're running onto it, and a player, in those pack positions, just kick it our way. If it goes 20 metres, just kick it, get it, kick it, move it on quick, so we can break open that congestion and open it up a bit.
Yeah. Yep, Vince, I was just going to say, just on the injuries, I wouldn't expect too many back next week.
What was that?
The ones we're looking at, Lockie Fogarty still 3 to 5 weeks, Marchbank 2 to 3, Jack Martin 2, McGovern 2, Motlop 2 to 3, Sard 4, and in the reserves
Vossi after the match said that Martin, Marchbank, and McGovern will be available this week.
Well, he might want to talk to the person at the social media because they've just updated the injury list 30 minutes ago.
I'd listen more to Voss than I would that injury list. That's never been reliable.
Dean, what's his name? Brody Kemp was best on the ground in the twos, followed by Jackson Binns, who kicked 2 goals.
Yeah, that was a strange one, wasn't it? I mean, dropping Brody.
Mike Carroll did all right too.
Yeah, Carroll did okay too.
Jack Carroll did pretty well too, and Jackson Binns, of course, who only got his first taste of senior football last week for about a quarter, and then immediately dropped again. So the poor kid has had to work so hard to get his first opportunity, and straight away the next week he's gone. But I guess that's the cut and thrust of footy. There are few other options I would have thought. Some of those selection decisions are baffling, aren't they? I mean, Kennedy as a sub, dropping Brody Kemp and leaving Lewis Young in the side, I thought that was the wrong choice.
They needed someone for Mason Cox, so they did need someone down there for Mason Cox. So I don't know whether Kemp would have been the answer there, but Cincotta come in, did a reasonable job, defensive wise, but I think you miss a bit of attacking flair and a bit of flair when Kemp's not there, if you know what I mean. You got that lockdown defensive type role covered, but you don't get any real attack out of Cincotta. So look, it's, I don't know. They rolled the dice with a few of those selections, I think, and I don't think it really helped us too much. But hopefully, the guys who did play get it. Besides Fantasia, I suppose. But if I can say that,
isn't it funny the difference between winning and losing? If that last minute and 20 seconds had have gone our way instead of their way, we'd probably be singing the praises of all sorts of players.
I wouldn't be singing Fantasia's. I wouldn't be singing his praises. No, I would not.
No, but what I'm trying to say here is that despite the fact that we're all very disappointed and some people have actually been scathing of our performance on Friday night, the glass half full approach or attitude would be that, hey, despite playing so poorly and so many of our players being down, with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, the scores were level and we were still in the game. So if there's a lot of improvement in the side, again, you'd like to think that there's a lot more upside to what we can deliver in the future. A little bit like last week's game against Geelong. A lot of people feel that we've got a lot more improvement in us than what they had in them. They were almost full strength last week and probably can't improve too much on what they did last week. And we have more in us. But the fact is you've still got to show it, don't you? You've still got to actually execute and produce that best football. And maybe it is a case of getting a lot more of those classy players back in the team and that we're struggling at the moment insofar as using those depth players at the moment that are not quite up to the level.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
I just had to ban someone who's been putting up derogatory comments. Look, I'm not politically correct. I know some people want to have some fun, but if you want to start swearing and abuse past players and the club, I'll ban you and kick you out, which I've just done. The guy had the name of Alex Jezelenko and started putting up racist and derogatory comments. So
that's ridiculous. Yeah, get him off.
Yeah.
All right.
Look,
that's fine.
And we can sit here and be critical at times, but we're Carlton supporters, and when you use that word supporter, it starts with the word support. So support things. I mean, we can. I've probably been a little bit hard on Fantasia, but I don't think. I think. You get to a stage where he hasn't really played a reasonable game this year, and he keeps getting the game. So that therefore you wonder why. And I'd be very surprised if he plays this week, but he may well do, because you don't know what role they got him out to him. But anyway, that's But to come on and start having a crack at the club or the coaches or the players or whatever, or and especially if people have been racist or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got an opinion and we're all hurting and all that, but there's no point to be like that.
Look, I'm not hurting all that much, to be honest. I think we're matching it pretty well with the big guns. This and we've got Melbourne and then the Swans to come over the next few weeks. So they're tough matches, Melbourne just beat Geelong, who was sitting up on top of the ladder. So they're in bloody good form. And I looked at them and thought, geez, they're going to be really hard to beat. Really hard to beat. They're starting to and playing a similar style as what Collingwood played against us. Attacking the opposition pretty hard, and so we're in for a tough one on Thursday night.
No doubt about that.
Mohammed S., you're getting close to being banned. I don't care that you follow Collingwood. I'm happy that you want to be on the show, but want to make smart ass and derogatory comments.
What are we doing allowing Collingwood supporters on the channel, Joe?
Well,
Go
We
on.
are
Go
free.
back to.
No, they
back-
want to. They
go-
want to be. He wants to be a Carlton supporter. He's
That's
just,
right.
hey,
That's why he's
I was
on.
going to say, go back to
let him.
Laverton Prison where you belong.
To where? Lara prison.
To Laverton Prison.
Anyway. Last thoughts, gentlemen. I'll start with you, David.
On the game.
Yes, please.
Yeah, look, it's disappointing that we lost, but we're in it till a couple of minutes to go, and scores are level. I thought it was going to be a draw, to be honest, but bit of magic from Dacos, and he was probably the player who stood out over the night, and we didn't have a player who really stood out. So that was a disappointing thing. Harry up forward, what he kicked for, and did pretty well, but you really. I think a few weeks ago I was saying I was looking for Cripps, and I wish I was at the game. I'm hoping I'm going to be there this Thursday, but as long as my bloody COVID test is all right, but I'll be getting along. But we're batting, with the big boys at the moment and holding their own. So. We got some real talent to come back into that team, and that's when you're going to see the best of us, and we can be a bit critical, but we might have a couple in there who are just not quite up to the real echelon of finals, and that's what's getting worked out now. The good thing about that is what Vossi will see who can stand up, who can't, and play the right players, at the right time of the year.
We are going through a pretty horror stretch, aren't we, Rhys? We lost that game to Adelaide, which was a bit of a shock loss, and then we're right in the middle of this stretch where we're playing really top teams, one after the other after the other. We started with GWS, and then we went to Geelong, and now we had Collingwood, and we've lost 3 out of the last 4, and then of course now we've got Melbourne and Sydney in Sydney. So it doesn't get any easier. We could very well find ourselves at 6 and 5 instead of. Sorry, what are we now? Sorry, we're 5 and 3. We could end up finding ourselves at 5 and 5, I should say,
5 and 5, yeah.
after 10 rounds. You never know, but I'd like to think that we'll find a way to turn our form around in the next week or two.
Okay, so let's go to the votes. David?
Yeah, look, I went with Blake Acres, and I probably picked that at 3/4 time. I penciled him down for 3 votes, and he wasn't bad in the last quarter, but he keeps turning up. He's there all the time, and I like the way he goes about it. Newman, 2 votes, and Harry Mackay, probably of our A graders, is probably the only one who really stood up on the night and kicked 4 and posed a real threat down there. So. That's how I saw it, but I'd much prefer to see, Cripps, Walsh, Curnow getting the votes, and then we would have won the game.
Vince?
You just love your wingman, don't you, Rhys?
Well, I must, I think. But no, look, I just thought at 3/4 time he was by far our best player, and he didn't fall away that much in the last quarter. So
look, as a matter of fact, as you can see there, all 3 of us have gone for the same 3 players, that are all in different order for each one of them. So I actually went for Nick Newman as best on the ground. I thought he was magnificent all night, really. He got a stack of the ball, 32 possessions, including 26 kicks. I think his metres gained was over 600 metres or something like that for the game. 84% disposal efficiency. I thought he was the most effective player on the ground for us. Did a great job, and I gave him the 3 votes. Mackay, I gave 2. Even though he only had the 13 disposals, boy, did he make the most of them. He took 7 marks. He was the only player I thought in our team that looked like he could take charge of the game and kick 4 goals. And I don't think you can ask for much more than that from Harry. He's been in great form all year, really. I think he's been a far more reliable commodity for us than Charlie has so far this year. So I gave him 2 votes, and for all the same reasons that you said, Blake Acres, again, had a stack of the ball, same 32 possessions, not quite as effective. possessions, but a pretty even spread of kicks and handballs. And like Newman, laid 6 tackles as well. So they were the 3 most effective players on the ground as far as I could see.
Yep. And I went for Harry Mackay. I thought he kept us in the game with his kicking early on. He was pretty good. Blake Acres, our new goalkeeper, stopping that ball. And again, I thought Nick Newman played quite well. So we've got a new leader. Harry Mackay has jumped to the top on 33 votes. Mackay. Patrick Cripps on 31, Walsh on 17, and Blake Acres has joined the top 5, going to 13 with Jacob Wiedering. And David, we now have, let me get this right, Vince wants it higher.
And we're going to give David a chance to explain who he wants first before you put it up.
Sorry?
The Spirit of Carlton.
Let's give Rhys a chance to talk up this player before we put up his name.
Yeah, look, I think
we've got to mention that you just calm down, Vince. You read the run sheet.
See, there you go. You ruined it.
No, the Spirit of Carlton Award this week goes to Jacob Wiedering, and look, I just thought he was terrific. His job on Myercheck, who I don't think he touched the ball. Myercheck, he was just blanketing him all night and beat him in one-on-one contests, and was just able to get there and get a spoil at times, and just a great defender. And he almost looks like he's on one leg at the moment too. So I'm not sure if he's carrying an injury of some sort, but he just keeps turning up and doing the job. And fantastic to watch. So well-deserved winner of that, and unlucky not to get in the votes.
Okay.
Yeah, Myercheck only had 7 kicks and 2 hand passes and did not trouble the scorer. One thing I will say about that, Rhys, I don't know if you noticed it, but one of the really smart coaching instructions, I assume it's an instruction, that I think came from Craig McRae, that I thought was extremely effective, was in fact using Myercheck to get Wiedering away from the fullback area. In fact, he led him up the ground quite a lot, and that left Zach Williams, exposed on someone like what's his name, Billy Elliott there?
Jamie Elliott.
Jamie Elliott. And I thought that was a real big mismatch that favoured Collingwood in a big way, and I thought that was very smart of Myercheck, or I assume it's actually McRae telling him to do this. So leading Wiedering up the ground and leaving Williams exposed, I thought we looked very vulnerable down there with only Zach Williams on Elliott, and on quite a few occasions he was exposed badly.
He was.
What did you think? What does Wiedering do in that situation? Does he follow Myercheck up the ground, or does he sit back and make sure that matchup doesn't expose us? What do you think should happen there?
It depends who you're going to have, because if Wieders doesn't follow him, someone's got to be with him. So he has to swap over onto someone else. So I don't know who that would be, but I think that teams are going to look at us, and especially at the moment when we rely heavily on our top 5 blokes, and they're going to look at Harry Mackay, Curnow, Cripps, Walsh, and try and minimise, and Wiedering's the other one, and minimise the effect that they can have, because that's the way to beat us. And teams are looking that's how they've got to do it. So we're going to make life a bit easier for our stars, and
Williams went off too.
Sorry?
Williams went off injured as well, so you can add him to the injury list.
2 weeks in a row, So and look, he looked a bit shaky early, on Elliott sort of thing. He got his arm across him a few times and give away a couple of free kicks. So
they
weren't consistent with that.
No,
Charlie was getting scragged and they're waving their arms around like that. Anyway.
Don't
get
me started on umpires.
Your favourite species. Next week, it's a Thursday night game.
It is.
MCG. It's our home game. Carlton versus Melbourne. David, thoughts?
Yeah, well, hopefully I'm going to be there, and if I am there, I'm going to be in the MCC committee room too. So I'll be in there with all the hobnobbing it. But so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, look, I think I think the last couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get one or two of those players back. McGovern, I'd love to see McGovern back. I think that's going to stiffen up our back line a little bit and make us a bit better back there. So yeah, let's hope selection is good and we go to play. I think that I watched a bit of the Melbourne Geelong game. I've been sitting in isolation for the last 3 days, so all I've been doing is watching footy, and that was a tough match though. Like both teams were running very hard for long periods of time. I think there wasn't a goal kick for over 30 minutes at one stage. So there was no breaks, there was no rest for the players. So I think on a 5-day break, that's going to take a fair bit out of Melbourne, and hopefully that'll gas a few of them, and we can come with fresher legs and perform. So let's hope that's the case.
Vince?
Yes, well, look, I also actually went to watch that game, Melbourne and Geelong, and I was extremely impressed with the intensity and the ball winning ability of the Melbourne midfield, especially. I think that they had by far and away the better of that game. I do think that they struggled to use the ball inside 50 as efficiently as they ought to. And that keeps the opposition in the game. And that's what I was thinking during the game, is that really they should have been a lot further in front. But they were inaccurate in front of goal. I think at one stage they were 5 goals, 14, in fact. And Geelong just kept within arm's length of them, and eventually managed to, in fact, take the lead just before 3/4 time. But Melbourne showed that they really wanted it, and managed to get back in front and stay there. So it won't be easy. They are so used to playing in these sort of arm wrestle type games. And in fact, when you look at the most recent Carlton-Melbourne games, including last year's semi-final, and I think we played a home and away game against them. I think it might have been the second or third last game of the year as well. They were really tight, close arm wrestle type games that went right down to the wire. And in fact, I think that home and away game was where Petrarca kicked that goal, and I think it was Akers that might have said he got a fingernail to it, or was it Marchbank? It might have been Marchbank. Anyway, so you can just about bet your life that next Thursday is going to go down to the wire. But Melbourne don't make it easy for you to score. They're probably one of the best defensive sides going around, but I do think that they have deficiencies in their forward line, and they're still trying to find a way to maximise their inside 50s. But look, can't underestimate them, but I do think that the 5-day break will tell on them late. So if we're right in the game with a quarter to go, I reckon their legs will be feeling the pinch in that last quarter. So, Joe, what do you think, and what's your prediction?
Well,
seeing your game first.
I think that our team has a lot of A graders. We've got like 5 A graders, right?
Mm.
And then I don't think we have enough B and C. We've got a lot of C and D graders who don't pull their weight. And so
the A graders you're saying would be probably Cripps, Walsh, Curnow, Mackay, and Wiedering, I assume.
Yeah.
So they're the 5 A graders. Who are you saying are the C's and D's?
Well, Chera.
You'd have to put Chera and Akers and guys like that as B graders, wouldn't you?
I'd put them as C+, B-.
What, even Akers?
Yeah.
Geez, you're a hard man to please. Akers has been on fire this year.
David will tell you, I don't know, but you're only as good as your weakest link. And we have too many weak links, which is our small forwards. And if we play the same game that we've played for the first 8 weeks this week, where we kick the ball to Lever and May, we won't win. Yeah. Charlie's going to be running around with his hand in the air, and they're going to kick it to him. He's going to have 3 on him, and you're going to have all these small forwards wandering around going, oh, how come I can't get a kick? And you watch, I was amazed. We did it again on Friday night to Darcy Moore, all right? Or Darcy Less, as Rocco likes to call him. But I still think we'll win, but just. I reckon Carlton will win.
What's your prediction?
10 points. Right?
10 points.
Yeah, but
okay.
It's not, night games are not easy. You don't get big margins in night games because I think the dew on the ground brings both clubs back to an even playing field. But I just think we've got too many C and D graders that don't pull their weight. It's just
okay. And
like I said, if we start kicking it to May and Lever, and they'll get 3 votes again, like they do every year against us. it's like people see the red and blue and think there's an imaginary CFC on it. Anyway, for what it's worth,
they play it well. They got May and Lever back there. The other big one's going to be Max Gawn too. Pitnet's job on Max Gawn. That's going to be a massive contest. And Pitto can, even if Pitto can break even there, that's going to go a long way.
That's a
long
win
way to us winning.
Yep.
So it's going to be a tough match. And I'll say 26 points. I'll use my old number.
Okay.
So you think we're going to pull away from them? Okay.
Yeah, I think we will. I think, I watched that game and they had a lot of blokes, from both teams, Geelong and Melbourne, going up and down in the one spot a bit towards the end of the game. So I think that'll take a fair bit out of them. And we didn't do as much of that. So we should be a bit fresher.
Yeah, well, Melbourne, of course, came off a 10-day break when they I think their previous game was against Richmond on that Anzac Day Eve, which was a Wednesday night. So Saturday night's game against Geelong was after a 10-day break. This time they're going to only get 5. So I do think that will tell on them late, but I still think it's going to be an arm wrestle and a half. I'm saying Carlton to win by 8 points. We very rarely have games between these two sides that are decided by anything more than a single figure. So, I'm going for Carlton as well.
Okay. So that means there's no change in the leaderboard because we all went for Carlton.
Carlton to beat Collingwood.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
I can't say that other word. I can't say Collingwood will. Okay, so that brings us to the close. But David, before we go, plug it, mate. Plug it.
Yes, we've got our Prader-Willi syndrome Association month this month of May, and the 15 for 15 fundraiser.
What's going to be your 15 for 15 this year? You're going to do 15
we're doing
David Rhys-Jones' best highlights of his career.
Yeah, we're doing some highlights of my career this year. So right. Having the knees replaced and everything early this year, I wasn't too keen on doing anything too physical. So just take it a little bit easy and ease my way into it. But there's going to be some great highlights and lowlights and everything throughout the 15.
I've got an idea for next year, Reece.
Yeah, look, the fundraising has
15.
Started. We raised some money on the jumper punch the other night, which was fantastic. Yes. So and thank you to everyone who donated through there. And if you want to get onto the 15 for 15 website, it's the number 15 for FOR 15, and
I'll put it up. I'll put it up on our Facebook page during the week, and we'll do something next week for it.
Yeah, fantastic, and people can donate. Sorry, I just hit the computer there, but and they're also we've got a raffle on this year as well with for $15 a ticket, which wins you a trip to Bali and flight vouchers and different stuff. So and there's my son Cooper there who has Prader-Willi syndrome. He lives with that 24/7 every day, and it's a awkward condition, but he does his best, and we're doing our best for the association, and hopefully we can raise some funds.
All right. So
well said.
Everyone get on there. I'll put some links up during the week, and next week we'll do something for the Prader-Willi Syndrome Association. So, David, once again, we'd like to thank you for your time and effort for coming on the show. We know it's a Sunday night, and you've probably got better things to do than talk to two old blokes.
I'm stuck in a bedroom by myself. No one will come near me because I got bloody COVID, and I feel $1 million. That's the worst thing.
Nah,
I
never
might have another test. I think this test is wrong. I think.
David, we got one question for you.
Yep. Anything. Do I enjoy your time in the spotlight and the jump about Italian culture? Yeah, I did. I learned they love eating. They love eating. They love food.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Food just kept
That's
going.
all they do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eat and drink, eat and drink.
Eat and drink. That's
Anyway.
it. Yeah.
No,
all
right,
good.
guys.
No, it's fantastic to be part of, and yeah, good bunch of blokes there. So we had a bit of fun, and always good being with Carlton people.
David, we really appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll see you next week.
No worries. Go the Mighty Blues.
Anyway,
Thanks,
Blues.
guys.
John, you, Reese. I was just going to say, Reese next year should do the best 15 reportable incidents that he was involved in.
I was going to say, best 15 smacks that didn't get reported.
Yeah.
He's laughing in the background.
Oh, well, there you go.
Vince,
anyway.
Apparently there was a few other games on this weekend.
Yes, Joe, there was.
Let's go for it.
And
Starting
in fact,
on Thursday night.
Yes, we started with the showdown, of course, over there in Adelaide. The big South Australian showdown every year always attracts a lot of attention, especially in the South Australian media and the South Australian public. And the Adelaide Crows, didn't they make a mess of Port Adelaide? And Port Adelaide played their captain, Connor Rosie, despite having a bit of a hamstring twinge.
Yeah.
And they paid the price for that decision, didn't they?
Certainly did.
Makes you wonder how the doctors wouldn't have picked that up and said, you're crazy you're crazy if you're going to play. I noticed Ken Hinkley took responsibility for that decision, but I don't know that it was all his doing. But anyway, I think he's taken the fall for everybody else.
That's
Adelaide,
right.
great win, 12 goals, 6, 78, with only 18 scoring shots. Defeating Port Adelaide, 5 goals, 18 points, 48. So 23 scoring shots to 18, and they lose by 5 goals. How's that?
I missed some easy
bad
shots.
kicking? What do you say, Joe?
Bad football.
Bad kicking is bad football.
And on Saturday, Battle of the Bridge.
Then, of course, yes, the first game was a day game, even though it was in wet weather, at the SCG between the two Sydney teams. Of course, this round being so apparently rivalry round. So the two Sydney rivals, Sydney and GWS, went at it. And despite GWS getting in front early on in the game, Sydney pulled away to win 14-14, 98 to GWS's 10-9-69, a 29-point victory to the Sydney Swans. And they are now on top of the AFL ladder.
And then after that, what game there was?
Then we had St Kilda defeating North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium, 15-13, 103. The usual 100 points that North Melbourne concedes pretty much every week. And North themselves kicked only 10-5-65, a 38-point win to the Saints and a much-needed victory for them. North Melbourne remain the only winless team in the competition at the bottom of the ladder.
Followed by?
Now, last night, of course, we had 2 games. The first of them was at the MCG in what really loomed as a bit of a finals-type atmosphere between Melbourne and Geelong. It was a great game. And Melbourne got over the line eventually 10-14, 74. As I said, they were 5 goals, 14 at one stage, and then they kicked 5 goals in a row with no points to eventually get over the line. 9-12-66 Geelong, although I've got to say, there were a couple of shots for goal by Jeremy Cameron late in that game that should have been goals. They were only 25 metres out, and he missed both of them badly. So Melbourne might have dodged a bullet there.
And then the other game last night?
The other game was a bit of a cliffhanger for Essendon supporters. I don't think they'll want that one all over again. 11-11-77 to West Coast, 11-5-71. And there was a late bit of play where I think it was Waterman was going to go for a shot for goal, and Jamie Cripps knocked over an Essendon player, and the umpire reversed the decision, and that cost West Coast the goal. Could have cost them the match. So Patrick Cripps' cousin, Jamie, I think he'll be hanging his head in shame this weekend. So West Coast lose the game by only a goal there. They've certainly become a lot more competitive in recent weeks.
Yeah.
So then we had
today?
the 3 games today, of course, starting with the game at the MCG where Fremantle really did take Richmond apart, and Richmond looking very much a bottom four side. 15-13, 103 Fremantle to Richmond's 6-13, 49. Bit of a baptism of fire for Coach Adamuze. Fremantle back in the 8 and looked like they might stay there. Marvel Stadium tonight, this is the one that probably a lot of people think is a bit of an upset. Hawthorn, 14-14, 98, overcoming the Western Bulldogs, 14 goals, 7, 91. And you would think that that'll create even more media attention on Coach Luke Beveridge, because that really does put the Doggies in a precarious position in terms of making the finals. And at the moment, at half-time at the Gabba, I can report to you that the Brisbane Lions are 8 goals, 8, 56 to the Gold Coast Suns, only 2 goals for 16. And Brisbane were actually 5-5 at quarter time to 2-1. And then they kicked a further 3 goals in the second quarter, and Gold Coast didn't score any goals. They only scored 3 points. So that's looking like a Brisbane victory. They're currently in front by 40 points at half time, but have to be a massive turnaround for them not to win that now. So you would think, therefore, Joe, if we have a look at the AFL ladder, which is not including that result, the Brisbane Gold Coast game, we see here that the top 8 has Carlton just inside the 8, in 8th position. But up the top now, because Geelong lost their first game of the season, you've got Sydney on top now on percentage, a whopping 147%. Geelong now slips to second, also on 7 wins and 1 loss. Then you've got 2 teams in third and fourth, very well entrenched in GWS and Melbourne. They're both on 6 wins. Then you've got Essendon. Now, there's a bit of a surprise to some people, you'd have thought. They've won 5.5 games from their 8 games played. So they've only actually lost 2 games, Joe, so far. And they're in 5th position, 95.2%. Really doesn't matter now that they've got that draw against Collingwood. As I said, they really did benefit from the draw more than Collingwood did. Fremantle now in 6th position on 5 wins on percentage from Port Adelaide and Carlton, all on 5 wins. Outside the 8, you've got Collingwood on 4.5 wins on 18 points. Then you've got Gold Coast on 4. It looks like they'll remain on 4 wins from 8 games. Yeah. So they'll stay in 10th position based on that. Then these teams here, I reckon, I don't know, I can't see them making the 8, to be honest, but it's not too late yet. But, geez, they're on 3 wins and 5 losses each. That's the Western Bulldogs, Adelaide and St Kilda. Both Adelaide and St Kilda having very important wins, and I reckon the Doggies might be ruining that loss to Hawthorn today. That might really make things hard for them because they've got a pretty tough draw coming up. Brisbane, you would think, will go up to 12 with that win over the Gold Coast Suns. So if they do win that game, you would think that they will at least go in ahead of St Kilda. So you can probably expect Brisbane to go into 13th and St Kilda slip to 14th, but all those teams will be on 3 wins from 8 games. Then you've got the bottom 4, which looks like it might stay that way. West Coast and Hawthorn now having their 2nd win for the season. Richmond slipped to 2nd last on only 1 win. And North Melbourne, the only winless team in 18th and last position.
Exactly.
So how do you reckon Carlton's going after 8 rounds, Joe? We're inside the 8, but, you know, what is it, 5 wins and 3 losses?
We shouldn't have lost to Adelaide. That was inexcusable. Geelong, we had our chances, probably not good enough. And I really think we should have beaten Collingwood, but I'm a biased Carlton supporter. Anyway, Vince, it is time for... Wrong one.
Come on, get your sound effects right.
I got so excited that I got you the drum roll with the cymbal that I want to play it all the time.
Do you want me to get my own gavel or something, my own auction
next week?
Gavel?
So what's your verdict, Vince? Give us a verdict.
Well, Joe, I just want to touch on something that I think is a contentious topic. Now, we saw the AFL instigate if you like, approximately a minute or two of everyone's attention at every single game in this round that we've just played, to recognise and I guess have a few moments of silence for the deaths of all the women that have lost their lives to domestic violence throughout the year. Now, that's a very worthwhile thing to bring attention to, and of course it's a very important issue in society. I understand all that, but I do think that they are starting to, in fact, not just starting to, they have now become so entrenched in putting what they think is the right message out there in all sorts of social issues and social justice issues, that where does it all stop? The one thing I couldn't help but think about on the weekend was, yes, the domestic violence against women is terrible, but why does it just stop there? I mean, why can't it be violence of any type against any person? How many other people lose their lives to violence? Whether it be men on men, women on women, why does it have to be gender-based? I don't understand that. I really don't. And where do you stop with all this? How many other issues are they going to get involved in terms of social justice and various issues? And whether it's, years ago we had the plebiscite to do with gay marriage, and they took a stance on that, and then they took a stance on the referendum, which was held in October last year, and they took a stance on that. And I just think that they are in grave danger of really putting so many people off going to the football because of the amount of things that they're now standing up for and have a position on when it comes to some of these social justice issues. I just think that they should leave it alone. It's not their place to be telling us about how we should think or why we should think it. And I think that they should just stay away from all this stuff. And they just continue to get involved in all of these areas. And I think it's wrong. And I by all means, I'm not saying in any way that we shouldn't be drawing attention to violence against women, but why should it just stop there? There's all sorts of violence that's committed by men on men and even women on men. I mean, there's a lot of men that are subjected to domestic violence by their partners. So why is it just always the one message to the one gender? I don't know. I just think that they're going down a very slippery path, and if Andrew Dillon's not careful, he's going to put a lot of people off just going to the football because of all this stuff. But anyway,
I agree.
I just feel that they've just become too involved in all of these sorts of social justice issues. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying that one's right, one's wrong. I just think that they're going into a minefield, and a lot of people. Yeah, look at what Wayne's comment is. Exactly how I feel. People go to the football to get away from all of this sort of thing. And they just want to enjoy a game of footy without all of the political issues, without all of the social justice issues. But people are using AFL as a platform to promote their own agenda. And that's where I just think it's wrong. And they shouldn't be allowing AFL to be used as that platform. That's my personal opinion. Now, you may agree or disagree with that, but
no, I agree.
That's my position on it. And it's 100%. Really putting a lot of... Do you know how many people that I talk to and they go, oh, yeah, I know. It's just ridiculous how many things they get involved. And I'm telling you, it's the general feeling out there is that they do too much of this. But, of course, they are so entrenched in this woke world that they obviously can't see that they're putting a lot of people off their product.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Vince's verdict. Now,
thank you
Vince,
to everyone for your comments, whether you agree or disagree. I'm more than happy for you to express your views where freedom of speech still exists on our channel.
Vince, can you hear the siren?
Wow, where's that coming from?
People are wondering why there's a siren.
It sounds like
last
something that
week-
belongs in the Middle East. Are
That's
there
a
bombs
bomb one.
going off somewhere?
I couldn't get the one at the races. After last week's show, our bet was audited by none other than SEN's own Paolo Sebastiani, and he
Yes.
says we actually won the bet,
We did.
right?
But we didn't.
So-
But hang on, Joe.
Hang on, let me explain.
Right.
I
okay.
thought when you'd have a draw, that if you
Mhm.
pick a team to win, you don't win the bet, which
Right.
apparently is true, but not in a multi. Lana,
Yes.
can you? I think Lana's the one who works at the TAB. Can you explain that, please? Because that to me just sounds wrong. But anyway, so we did win the bet.
Can I explain what we've got here? Now, if let's just say if Collingwood had have won, because we chose Collingwood to win, well,
Yeah.
then our return would have been $42.50 on our $10 bet because the odds came out to $4.25. So what we do, apparently, according to Paolo Sebastiani, is that $1.50 that applied to the Essendon Collingwood result gets removed. So the other 5 bets get multiplied by each other. And that's why we ended up coming out with something like $28.
Something like that. But Lana
Something
has
around
just,
$28.
the authority has just approved the bet. So anyway, we do have money in the bank. Vince, this week's bet, no, that should be lost. Why did I put 1? Anyway, that should be lost.
Because you always make a mistake, and I've got to spot
I just want you to find it. So we lost our bet this week.
Well,
So
we're very
next
confident that we were going to beat Collingwood, didn't we?
I did that last week.
We took the Carlton at the line, which was only 1.5 points, but we ended up losing by 6. So we were 8 points away from winning our bet.
Anyway, I put 1 because I wanted us to win. We won. I'm going to be the English cricket team. We had the moral victory.
This week, it's a get big or get out bet. Okay, no. So therefore, we've discovered that after all of the additions and subtractions.
Hang on, Vince. Just hold on. I forgot to delete the other thing, so I did have it as a loss. See?
Right. Okay.
So this week's bet.
What are you doing? So this week's bet, because I believe we had a balance of $68.70. So what we're going to do is give ourselves a bet of $18.70. So in fact, that leaves us with an even $50 in the account, I believe, if this bet does not get up. Now, by the way, Joe, we're going to change this $1.94 because it's just gone out to $2 for Carlton. So we're actually going to get $2 on this bet. So let's change that. So if it does get up, $2 on $18.70. I know that.
I can't, but I'll change it in my.
But if it does get up, we're going to go for it at $2.
I'll change it in the PowerPoint. So
righto.
Just bear with me, Vince.
So the return will be $37.40. Okay?
Yeah.
Which is $2 times $18.70. You got that?
Yes. Yep.
Right. Now, if it loses and Melbourne happens to win, or it's a draw, we will lose our bet and we'll have a balance of $50. But if it gets up, we'll have $50 plus $37.40. So we'll be back up to about $87.40 in our account.
That's right. That's
right. All right.
That's it. So I've fixed the PowerPoint slide so that reflects it, but I'll do it later.
No worries. Okay.
So Vince, that brings us to the end of our show.
It does.
Before we go, let's just go through the shows that are on the Jumper Punch this week. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, we have the Jumper Punch, which is live. Wednesday at 6 p.m, we have Rockin' the Burbs. I love watching Rocking the Burbs because Paolo and Rocco are always being told to move along. It's hilarious. And then Rocky,
the poor guys.
Show me your rules. Go get your manager, mate. Show me the rules. Go get your manager, mate.
You know what? You know what the real irony of that is, Joe. Everywhere you go in society now in Australia, I know you're in Thailand. You may not have this happen over there, but everywhere you go now, whether you're driving down the road and you just look above you, or whether you're walking down the street, there are cameras everywhere watching our every move, right? Literally every street corner has cameras on it now. And yet, if you want to take a video within a place like the Victoria Market or, Berkeley Square in Brunswick or wherever it might be, you get all these security people coming up to you saying, no, you can't record here.
Got to move,
so,
mate.
So the government and the police and everyone else is allowed to record every move you make in a car, or if you're walking down the street. But if you're recording within a certain public space, no, you can't. Even at the MCG, they don't allow you to record even on the concourse, let alone inside the ground. So what does that tell you about the society that we're living in today? Get ready for it, mate. The digital currency is coming next. The digital ID is already being passed through the Parliament, and we'll be living in a very dystopian society very soon. Get used to it. Even banks are not even giving you cash anymore. There are banks that are not even holding cash on premises anymore. So, it's ridiculous.
Vince, just before I go on, just a big shout out to Gina's daughter. Her daughter has tried out for the state darts team and has made the Victorian side. And
Very
will be
good.
Playing in the Australian Championship. So well done. Well done.
She must be practicing. She must be practicing using a few politicians' faces on the dartboard.
Probably. Maybe yours and mine.
Who knows?
After Rockin' the Burbs, we've got Forever Rivals.
Yes.
I don't think Rocco will be looking forward to that.
Oh, can you imagine what Manny's going to say to him this week?
I know. And then Thursday, we've got the change room. And we've had one of our comment. Lana says, the change room with Rashid Sam is well worth a look. Very insightful. So have a look, guys. Yep. I agree with her.
Yes, I do too. Excellent show.
Friday or Saturday, it's to be confirmed. You've got the double boys, which is.
I've got a funny feeling, Joe, that they might be going to a Monday. I think I saw Rocco saying something about that on last week's edition of the Jumper Punch. That they may be changing that to a Monday. I'm not sure. So just keep your eyes out on that one, and make sure that you've subscribed to the channel so that you can get all the notifications of when these shows are taking place.
Yeah. And then we've also got the jewel in the crown, as far as I can see. It's Blue Sunday with yours truly, Vince Lochisano and Mr. David Rhys-Jones. But
and Mr. Joseph Lutzer. Thank you very much, Bangkok Joe.
So guys, that's the end of the show. Once again, like, share, subscribe. Helps us, helps you, helps us, and really appreciate all the comments. Yes. I had to ban a couple of people for derogatory and racist comments. Also, on our Facebook page, look, we're not a woke society, but I don't think we should be encouraging all this outside gambling with all these other people.
No.
I gamble. Vince gambles. If you want to gamble, that's fine. I also won't encourage things to do with alcohol or drugs. I know they're part of society, but this is predominantly a football channel, so let's try and keep it, even though we have a joke bet. But I don't want people up there betting on horses and stuff like that.
No. It's all a bit of fun, what we do.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, from me here in Bangkok and from Vince in Melbourne, it's a goodbye and...
Go Blues!
Go Blues! And let me...